Hello and welcome to the COFSAC Food Assistance Program Systems Map. This video is going to include two parts, a quick tutorial on how to navigate Kumu maps and then an overview of the map itself and the gap analysis that it informed. So to begin with, navigation is pretty easy. You have a couple options. In the upper right hand corner, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Kumu maps, you can zoom in to the map itself by using the plus button and then zoom out to move back out to wherever you want to be. And then let's say that you've zoomed into a certain portion of the map and you want to see the entire map. You can just hit that lower button, zoom fit, and it will take you from wherever you are back out to see a complete overview of the map itself. If you do not feel like using those buttons, I actually prefer to just move my cursor around the screen and then pick an area within the map that I want to move into. And then you just double click and it will zoom you in. And then you can just click and drag from there. And then if you want to get back out, double click again, and it will bring you out to the full overview of the map. So that's the quick tutorial of how to navigate the map itself. If you are looking to understand more about the map, first and foremost, we should dig into the sculpture of the map itself. Within the map, it is made up of two elements, nodes and flows. So nodes are the circular entities which represent all the programs, all the departments, and the major elements within the system itself. And then the flows are the pathways between each of those nodes. Those flows are designated by a directional relationship and then also a connection between specific nodes, showing a flow of relationships and movement throughout the system. So as you'll see here, FNS moves into the Colorado Department of Agriculture, which moves into OCFS, which then moves into infrastructure, and then from there moves out into a myriad of different ways. The other thing that you can do is that as you're moving through it, if you hold your cursor over a specific node, it will highlight specific relationships that are important to that node and closest to that node. So you can just move through and see all of the different relationships illuminated as you hover over those nodes. Down in the lower left-hand corner is the legend, which shows you exactly what each color-coded grouping is. And visually, we wanted to present this map in a way that shows the relationships and the way the systems works really intuitively. So we start with the big ideas, the big elements of this system with the Farm Bill, and then the major government agencies, and then how they move through programs and Colorado agencies, and then down into infrastructure, and then through points of delivery, and then into low-income communities and into farmers, and how those relationships interact with each other. And all of those are labeled in that legend to the left. So yeah, please take your time and move through this systems map as much as you can and get a better understanding of how everything works within each other and how the system moves and what the relationships are. Beyond that, this was built to do a gap analysis to inform leverage points that we would use to come up with a list of policy proposals. And so really the purpose of this map was to illuminate that complex nature of the food assistance system and to assist with the identification of all the gaps that we list in our deep analysis. Some of those gaps include the disparities that we found between urban and rural policies, specifically the lack of policies to support rural communities when we compared those policies that work to support urban communities. We also saw gaps in the impact of funding and implementation of programs. Changes in funding can influence implementation and lead to decreased success of programs. When you don't have a stable set funding limit, it makes it hard for that program to act efficiently and effectively. And when people don't have a sense that a program is going to be there and is stable, they're less inclined to engage with it. We also saw gaps in available data. So as we were trying to do a gap analysis, as we were trying to analyze the effectiveness of many of these programs, some of them we just didn't have a lot of available data on, and it made it hard to assess the effectiveness of certain programs. So before you can even make an assessment as to the effectiveness of some of these programs, you have to start calculating data in a more complete manner. We also saw gaps in eligibility requirements and application challenges. Um, this confusion around the application process and then disparities between eligibility requirements and fluctuations with eligibility requirements can limit participation. It can discourage people and disenfranchise people, which causes them to not interact with programs that they need. Um, and this can also influence, in a really negative way, the effectiveness of programs. And it can distort the effectiveness of a program. If you don't make a program easily accessible to the people who need it, and you heighten the requirements or change the requirements on a constant basis, you're going to disenfranchise a large portion of the community that would benefit from those programs. Therefore, you can't get a real bearing on if the program itself is effective or not, because the process to get to the program has become so difficult to navigate. We also saw overall lack of infrastructure in some areas, so this often inhibits access to local and healthy food purchasing opportunities and prevents farmers from selling locally. So specifically, really overall lack of infrastructure in rural areas. And then seasonality and availability of the foods available at these points of purchase. A lot of the SNAP benefit businesses, especially in rural areas, while there are some grocery stores, a lot of the rural areas don't have or would be considered low access to grocery stores. And in all actuality, a large percentage of the SNAP eligible businesses are convenience stores or dollar stores or things of that nature that don't carry a wide variety of healthy, fresh foods. And that leads us to the importance of nutrition in programs, focusing more on fruit and vegetable production. We believe could increase connections between consumers and producers while improving overall consumer health, which leads us to the policy proposal that we chose, which has to do with bringing healthy food access into rural communities and allowing that healthy food to be accessible to people who are working with food assistance programs. Thank you so much.